First and foremost, I'd like to say, YAHAWAH, YAHAWASHI, Mashana Kabbalah Nawak, Zakonyam Sha'al, Shalom Wakasala Abakoim Akim, YAHAWASHI, Brakathum, Kwam Yasha'ala. Right? I'm out here to prophesy the downfall of America, this wicked, sodomite, destructive kingdom. And we're going to start off how the Israelites became Gentiles and how they became Greeks when you read in the New Testament. See, when you read in the New Testament, what you would have to do is go into history and understand the Old Testament before you understand the whole purpose of our Lord coming, which is YAHAWASHI, and who he was coming to save, right? When you understand the scriptures. In order for you to understand the scriptures, you have to go into history, okay? In order to understand the New Testament, okay? Which is basically a new covenant. In order to understand a new covenant, you will have to go to the Old Testament, right? And when people always mention, say, well, what about the Gentiles? Well, what about when Paul said there's no difference between the Jew and the Greek? Well, we finna go into their history today, and I'm gonna show you according to the scriptures, because the scriptures say prove all things. I'm gonna show you according to the scriptures how Israelites became Gentiles and how they became Greeks, right? And I'm gonna start off with Maccabees, first Maccabees, right? And this is part of the Old Testament. When you get understanding, you come to find out that the Maccabees is part of the Old Testament, right? This is first Maccabees, chapter 1, and it happened that Alexander, the son of Philip, and see, Alexander is mentioned in the Bible. See, that's why they wanted to hide the Apocrypha, because Alexander is mentioned in the King James Bible. Okay, he's mentioned in there, and that's actual history about a man named Alexander. Okay, everybody knows about Alexander, but everybody don't know that Alexander is mentioned in the King James Bible. Right? This first Maccabees chapter 1 verse 1, and it happened after that Alexander, the son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Kittim, had smitten Darius, right? Had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and the Medes, and that he reigned in his stead first over Greece. So that's when these Edomites, so-called white people, came into power, was able to rule the known world on that side of the water, meaning on in the Middle East, in Europe. That's when they came into power, when Alexander was raised up, pursuing the Daniel the 7th chapter, because it was prophesied that these Edomites was going to rule. Okay, and these Edomites, these so-called white people, they did not start the earth civilization. Okay, they was not ruling at first. Okay, they came into power during the time of Alexander. Okay, so this is verse 2. And made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the king of the earth. Right? And went through the end of the earth and took spoil of many nations. And so much that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted. Meaning he became proud. See? He was able to conquer them nations, dark nations, with so much speed, he became proud. Okay? And his heart was lifted up, and he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. And after these things, he fell sick and perceived that he should die. So Alexander became sick, and they got movies on him, right? Which is the modern day Alexander with I forget the guy's name, okay? But I'll put it up in post-production, right? But they got modern movies about how Alexander was a homosexual and he became sick, man. So that's actual facts, man. They got movies, and a lot of people don't like that movie because it brings out the truth of how he really was, right? And it says, verse 5, and after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die, right? Wherefore he called his servant, such as were honorable and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. Right? You had the four generals. You had Lysimachus, you had Cassander, you had Ptolemy, and you had Seleucus. So those were the four generals that Alexander came up with, and he parted his kingdom amongst them before he had died, right? Verse 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule every one in his place, right? And after his death, they put all crowns upon themselves, so that their sons after them many years, and evil will multiply in the earth. Okay, so these Edomites are coming into power, so-called Greeks are coming into power, and evils are multiplied in the earth. So here's the scripture stating actual history of what was going on in the ancient world. Okay? It's these Edomites coming into power, so-called white people coming into power. And I'll read it again. Verse 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule, every one in his place, and after his death they all put crowns upon themselves, so that their sons after them many years, and evil will multiply in the earth. Right? Evil will multiply in the earth. And I got this Proverbs 29:2. This Proverb 29:2.
Excited to go. And then
when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. And when them Edomites came into power, Israel was in mourning because why? They were being put to death, man. They were being put to death. Okay? Israel was in mourning, man, at that time, man. Okay? Because they were being put to death, man. Okay? And verse 9, and after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, so that their sons after them many years, and evil will multiply in the earth. Verse 10, and there came out a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus. Right? The king who had been a hostage at Rome, and he reigned in 137 years of the kingdom of the Greeks. So Antiochus come out the Seleucus line, and he was not Syria. Okay, he was over Syria, but his nationality, he was an Edomite. Okay, and when Antiochus Epiphanes came into power, he did a devastating thing to the children of Israel, because that's why the Maccabees, which were which were Levites, were fighting so hard to keep their custom and to protect the statute, laws, and commandments, but they couldn't do it. They end up losing, okay, because that way of life, when Antiochus Epiphanes came into power, that way of life, that Greek philosophy, and that way of thinking was pushed on the children of Israel, okay? Then I'm gonna jump down to verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all, hold on, I'm gonna go back up. Verse 10, and there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus, the king, who had been hostage at Rome and had reigned in 137 years of the 137 years of the kingdom of the Greeks. And in those days went there out Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathens that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So what they did was they made a pact with Antiochus Epiphanes, right? You had wicked Israelites making a pact with Edomites, okay? While they in their rulership, okay? Because they was losing their benefits, in other words. So they said, okay, so instead of praying to the Heavenly Father, they made a covenant with the Edomites, okay? And it says, verse 11, in those days when went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathens that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So these devices pleased them well, right? Then certain of the people, right, were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the custom of the heathens, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief, right? So they built a place of exercise. That's where you get them gymnos from, which means naked, okay? And that's when they were building them coliseums all around. That's where they were building them coliseums, like you see them big old stadium, like the football players play in. And they was having Olympic games, and they was doing exercise but naked, and they was put back on their foreskin, right? Because you know Israelites, that's a custom that they got to be circumcised. Well, in the history, when you go into the history, they were putting back on their foreskin to become like them heathens, man. So that's how wicked Israel had became when them Edomites came into power. Okay, they wanted to join. They made a covenant with them, and that right there was the start of them becoming like them heathens, meaning becoming Greeks. Okay, I'll read that again. It says, so this, verse 12, so this pleased them well. Then certain of the people, which are Israelites, who was so forward herein, they went to the king, which is Antiochus Epiphanes, an Edomite, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the custom of the heathens. Verse 15, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, right? And joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. That's our people were sold to do mischief, man. So they forsook the law that was passed down by their ancestors, given by the Most High,